How do you pray? Do you just kind of throw things out there and just throw random stuff out there? Or are you specific? So basically, are you generic in your prayer or are you specific in your prayer? Because God says this many times throughout the Bible, throughout his word, that you must be specific in your prayer. Yes, he does know all. He knows everything. He knows whatever's in your heart. He knows what's on your mind. He knows everything. But you need to be specific in your prayer. And we're going to dive into this a little bit today on that kind of the topic I want to talk about today is being specific in your prayer versus just generic. Because sometimes you think you pray and it'll be answered, right? Like we just think, oh, if I pray on this and ask for help or guidance or whatever, that God's going to just jump in and save the day. He might, but there's also more to it. And what happens is when you're specific, he knows exactly what you're asking for. If you need healing in your body, if you're sick, ask for that specifically. Don't just say, hey, God, help me out and make me feel better. My back hurts. Help me with my back pain, God. Help me heal in my back pain. You know, if you're struggling in a career and you don't know what it is, God, send me a sign that shows me whether I need to stay in this job or move on to this other position. Like, be specific in it. And we're going to break this down a little bit and help you understand a little bit more because, you know, sometimes, like I said, he does come in and help you. But when you're just like, oh, I don't really know, God, like, can you just help me? Well, what do you need help with? Like, he knows, but he's not just gonna, what? She's been a little bit of a baby. He was working, didn't know the call. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, so it says in my course, just keep checking every couple of hours and log in and tell me if there's any, like, couple deposit finance or max. I got a small cash. I don't know which one. I did a cash, but I thought I could do it right away, but because from yesterday to today, and then Biden had, but yeah, apparently third, so the Silicon Valley Bank, second biggest collapse, and then I don't know which one it is, but third biggest bank collapse ever happened as well today. Oh yeah, they came up when I left. He like come down here and I leave the door both down. He was on the couch when I got back in bed where I was. If you're generic and you're just saying, oh, you know, hey God, give me whatever, like God help me, and God, like, hey, just do whatever you want to do. Like, that's not really how it works, right? Like, God needs to know what it is you want, and God will help you and bless you, and he loves you and wants to help you in every way possible. But like, you got to be a little specific here. That's like saying, you know, you go to the bank to take out some money and you're like, oh, can I have some money from my account? And they're like, yeah, how much? You're like, oh, I don't know, just some money. But, well, you want $50? Do you want to withdraw $100? Like, what do you want to withdraw? You can't just go in there and say, hey, just I'll take some money. Or like, you go to a restaurant and you order food and you're like, oh, I'll have dinner. They're like, yeah, you're here for dinner. What do you want? Just dinner. No, you got to be specific. You say, I want the chicken parmesan or whatever it is, right? So let's give you a couple Bible verses here that kind of talk about prayer and how to pray and what to ask for and things like that. So the first one in Matthew 7, verses 7 and 8, he says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be open. So it's encouraging you to be specific in your prayer. It's telling you, you know, what you want in prayer, ask for it. It's saying open, if you seek it, you will find it. If you knock, somebody will open the door, right? Like sometimes you can't get into a building or whatever without knocking on the door first. So if you knock on the door will be open. So that's what it's talking about in Matthew. He's saying to you, be specific in your prayer, and whatever it is that you need to pray on, that you need to ask for, whatever it is, just be specific in it and talk to God and have that two-way communication with him, and he'll answer your prayers one way or another. And remember, before I dive into this even more, remember that God might not answer you right away, or you might be praying on the wrong thing, so God doesn't answer you because he needs to lead you to something bigger and better. And I'll link the video actually talking about this topic where God's no is actually a bigger yes sometimes. I'll link that video for you to check out after this one. But it's not, you know, always, oh, if I pray, he's just going to answer me all the time, because sometimes you're praying for the wrong thing. And I've talked about it in that video where I prayed about the wrong thing. I prayed for a relationship that wasn't right for me, and God didn't answer my prayer in prayer in that way. He answered it in a different way, and he got me out of that and showed me so many more things within myself, and I grew within myself and my faith. So you might not always get the answer in your prayer, but at least when you're specific, he will guide you in the right way, in whatever way you need to go. And then it's your opportunity. It's your task or your chance to take heed of that opportunity and take light of it and seek his guidance and then follow his guidance, right? Like he might show you, hey, go this way. Well, do you listen or do you kind of waver away and not follow his guidance that you asked for, right? So be specific. So another one in Philippians 4, 6, and 7, it says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. It's letting you know, first off, supplication basically means to be humble. So, have that humility and be humble and humble yourself before prayer. And, that's where you could take a moment to don't just dive into prayer. Sometimes take a moment, take a breath, meditate on a minute, let it ruminate, think about what it is that you really want to speak on it and ask in that prayer for God and humble yourself and say, hey, God, I don't know everything. I don't know what I'm doing in my career. I don't know what I'm doing in my relationship. I feel like I need to go this way or do this thing or whatever it is. And I'm just not sure and I'm stuck and I'm lost and I'm confused, whatever it is. And humble yourself and then go before God. Because again, he knows all. So if you're going in it kind of with an attitude or you're kind of, you're going into a little bit of an ego, humble yourself first before God, first and foremost, and then ask him and he'll help you. And again, where you're specific there and asking him, hey, I don't know everything. You're humbling yourself. I don't know everything. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm scared. I'm lost. I'm whatever it is. God, can you help me in XYZ and let him guide you that way. In James 5:16, it says, therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person has great power as it is working. Now, this one is talking more about specific prayers for other people. Same thing, but this is where it's even more powerful is when you're praying for other people, it kind of really resonates within your heart. It brings just a warmth over yourself. And, you could say, oh, pray for my grandmother. Okay, sure, we can do that. But like what for your grandmother? If she's going, like, what is it that she's going through that you need prayer for? Rather than just say, hey, pray for my grandmother. Can you pray for my grandmother? Okay, no. My grandmother, is sick. Okay, well, pray for my grandmother's sickness to heal or whatever, right? Like be specific. I have a friend that's looking into jobs and going into interviews and she wants this specific job. Okay, well, hey, God, can you help my friend in this job search and guide her through the interview and lift her spirits up and give her as much energy and positivity and embrace her true values and strengths and let those show in her interview. It's a specific prayer that you can say for the person. So you do it for yourself, you do it for others, you do it for the situations, you do it for everything where you're specific in that prayer. You have to be specific in it. And I'm going to give you a story here that shows exactly how this works, that this person prayed and said, hey, God, can you give me an exact sign? Like do this, this, and this so I know that you're answering my prayer. Because this person could have just said, hey, give me whatever. Next thing comes along and he goes with that thinking that's the answer and he's completely wrong. So this is about the story of Abraham, Isaac, and servants and getting Isaac a wife. So basically in the book of Genesis, in Genesis 24 to be specific, Abraham sends out his servant to find a wife for his son Isaac. He wants to go basically within the family, kind of like they kept it in the family and relatives and cousins and brothers and things like that. Back then, obviously I think there was a smaller population back then too. But he sends out his servant and he sends him out to take 10 camels with him to the city of Nahor, where Abraham's relatives live. Okay. So when the servant reaches there, he's not really sure what to do. He doesn't know who's going to be the girl for Isaac's wife. Like, who is it going to be? How do I figure it out? And along the way, he's, praying and he's, okay, let me figure it out. Let me talk to God and let me figure it out. So he stops at this well and he has 10 camels. And basically, if you didn't know, camels, they drink a lot of water. They store a lot of water, like gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons, like 20s of gallons per camel, and there's 10 of them. So we're talking hundreds of gallons here to fill up water, like to water these camels, to get them water, to help them thirst, to help their thirst. So the servant gets there, he drinks a little bit of water, and he basically prays to God and says, hey, can you help me figure out which woman I need to seek out to be Isaac's wife? The women go to the well every day for the water and all of that. So, he said, when they get here, can you let me know which one it is? But he doesn't just stop there. He doesn't just say, oh, let me know, like, send me a girl, right? If he just said, send me a girl, any girl could have come along and that was going to be the one. So no, the servant gets very specific in his prayer. And he says, God, when a girl comes, when the woman comes to the well, let me know that it's the one that I need to choose by first she will offer to give me water, but then she will also offer to water every single camel that I have here. What's this mean? Well, think about it. Some people are more generous than others. Some people are more giving than others. Some people are nicer than others, right? So not every woman that comes to the well is going to offer both him water and then all of the camels water and go down the line of the camels and give each camel water and sit there for probably hours on end, right? So he asked for a specific sign to say, hey, this, and this needs to happen with this woman in order for me to know that this is the woman that's supposed to be for Isaac's wife. So what happens? Woman Rebecca comes to the well. She's the granddaughter of Abraham's brother, okay? So the servant watches her draw the water from the well, and she offers to give him a drink. He's like, okay, cool. So far, so good, right? But then she turns and says, oh, I see all these camels here. Let me water all of the camels as well, which obviously it's hospitality from her. But what does this really mean? It's God answering the prayers. Nobody knew. The only person that knew about this prayer was the servant, okay? The servant had his prayer. It was between him and God only. Nobody else was there. And then the woman comes along and does exactly what was asked about in the prayer to God. That's God answering a prayer. That's not a coincidence. I'll say this all the time. There's certain things that might be a coincidence. Like you really got to dig deep to try to figure out that it's a coincidence, but it's God. Like when you think something's too good to be true and it's happening and everything's lining up and it's a coincidence, it's God. Especially in those moments where it's only you. If you pray on something and it's your private prayer between you and God and you have a direct correlation, a direct answer, a direct response, a direct sign on that prayer, that's not a coincidence. That's God. That's a sign right there that if you don't believe, look into prayer and look at others in their prayers and see the signs and know that it's God. So the servant sees Rebecca, meets Rebecca, does all these things. And he's like, wow, like this is incredible. This is the woman that's supposed to be marrying Isaac. So he gives her jewelry and asks that he can go to the family and basically, wants to explain everything that's going on. So Rebecca brings him back and he goes to have dinner. Well, he goes to meet the family and explain what his mission was. So then her family is all there and they all agree, like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. Like, he tells them about the prayer and like they believe in God. So they're like, oh, well, if God is answering your prayer, if he's answering my brother's prayer, right? Like this, like Abraham's brother, if God is answering my family's prayer and your prayer to make this happen and everything's happening, then yes, we agree. Like she should go and marry. So the story there is it's really a beautiful story about God's blessings and what God really does in prayer when you're specific. It's that simple. Just be specific in what it is. So for instance, I like in my career, right? I ask God to guide me in my career, but I don't just say that. I say, God guide me in finding new clients and new clients finding me and people learning from, my sharings and my teachings and finding value in that so that they may, come to me more and ask me more questions. And basically I'm very specific in what I want to grow in my business. I had a couple weeks ago, I was really struggling to kind of figure out the next step in growth in my business. And I spoke to God about it and he knew it was weighing heavily on me. So I prayed about it and I said, God, send me a sign, can you help me and guide me and give me a sign that shows me something that I can truly follow, like a plan that I can follow, a teaching that I can follow, something that I can follow to help me in these next steps. A couple days later, a random ad pops up and it's somebody that I follow in an institute and a coaching program that I follow. And it was a weeks-long free training seminar. And sure enough, on day one, I learned so many things of value and how to implement different steps and how to take the next steps necessary for my business, for my growth, the exact steps that I needed to implement on where I was feeling stuck. Is that a coincidence or is that God's timing? Because that post could have popped up at any other time. It could have been a year from now. Could have been 2 years from now. It never could have popped up at all. It could have been, I see it all the time where I see different people post and, oh, come to this training, and I've tried it, and it's a joke. It's full of BS. It doesn't line up with my values on how I see my business going and how I live my life. But this post comes up, free training from like the best of the, like these people, this person in particular is the best of the best. His coaching is the best of the best. And I learned so much. Like I even signed up for their VIP, which is basically one-on-one questioning with a small group of people every single night for that whole entire week right after the seminar. And the first night I didn't want to do it. The second night, God kind of spoke to me and said, hey, like you should sign up for this. And I looked into it and it was $50. And I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm always leery of money. I'm like, that's $50, whatever. Like, let's do it. And I asked one question to this owner, to this like coach's coach, basically. And this one question was his answer was worth way more value than $50, like hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars in value in this one answer that he gave me that I never really would have come to the conclusion with on my own. God put me there. God sent me there. God sent that to me. God said, hey, check this out and do this, because the only person that knew about my prayer and my struggles, besides myself, was God. Not a coincidence. It's God answering my prayers. That simple. Hopefully that can maybe help give you some insight and have that little story that I can share there with you on and help you to kind of see God's true grace, God's mercy, God's love, God's guidance. Hopefully this little, instance here as my dog goes crazy barking can help you in some way. But as always, I hope you find something of value from this little message. Make sure you like and subscribe if you do find something of value, as I post every single week. I post a new video every week. I also post daily shorts on Bible verses and small little messages and tidbits here and there that can also help you. I get a lot of comments there often. I mean, good and bad, and I try to help the negative people to, see the light in some sort of way. But I just, I love doing this. God is shining through me and using me to share his message and his word in any way that I possibly can. So I appreciate everybody that tunes in, and I'll leave this with, and I'll end this message as I always do with: keep peace and kindness in your heart and keep God first.